Simon looked up, feeling the weight of his wet hair, and gazed at the sky. Up there, for once, were clouds, great bulging towers that sprouted away over the island, gray and cream and copper-colored. The clouds were sitting on the land. They squeezed, produced moment by moment this close, tormenting heat. Even the butterflies deserted the open space, where the obscene thing grinned and dripped. Simon lowered his head, carefully keeping his eyes shut, and then sheltered them with his hand. There were no shadows under the trees, but everywhere a pearly stillness, so that what was real seemed elusive and without definition. The pile of guts was a black blob of flies that buzzed like a saw. After a while, these flies found Simon. Gorged, they alighted by his runnels of sweat and drank. They tickled under his nostrils and played leapfrog on his thighs. They were black and iridescent green and without number. And in front of Simon, the Lord of the Flies hung on his stick and grinned. At last, Simon gave up and looked back, saw the white teeth and the dim eyes, the blood, and his gaze was held by that ancient, inescapable recognition. In Simon's right temple, a pulse began to beat on the brain. So Simon is in this hot spot. He saw them kill the pig. He saw them mount the head. And now he is being overcome by heat and staring at the pig's head. And he sees it as the Lord of the Flies, something that he recognizes. And you remember Simon thought the beast was just them, that there wasn't really a beast, that they just sort of needed to face the thing that was on top of the mountain. Okay, back down on the beach. Ralph and Piggy lay in the sand, gazing at the fire and idly flicking pebbles into its smokeless heart. That branch is gone. Where's Sam and Eric? We ought to get some more wood. We're out of green branches. Ralph sighed and stood up. There were no shadows under the palms on the platform, only this strange light that seemed to come from everywhere at once. High up among the bulging clouds, thunder went off like a gun. We're going to get buckets of rain. What about the fire? Ralph trotted into the forest and returned with a wide spray of green which he dumped on the fire. The branch crackled, the leaves curled, and the yellow smoke expanded. Piggy made an aimless little pattern in the sand with his fingers. Trouble is, we haven't got enough people for a fire. You've got to treat Sam and Eric as one turn. They do everything together. Of course. Well, that isn't fair, don't you see? They ought to do 2 turns. Ralph considered this and understood. He was vexed to find out how little he thought like a grown-up and sighed again. The island was getting worse and worse. Piggy looked at the fire. You'll want another green branch soon. Ralph rolled over. Piggy, what are we going to do? We just have to get on without them. But the fire, he frowned at the black and white mess in which lay the unburnt edges of branches. He tried to formulate. I'm scared. He saw Piggy look up and blundered on. Not of the beast. I'm scared of that too, but nobody else understands about the fire. If someone threw you a rope when you were drowning, if a doctor said, take this, because if you don't take it, you'll die, you would, wouldn't you? Of course you would. Can't they see? Can't they understand? Without the smoke signal, we'll die here. Look at that. A wave of heated air trembled above the ashes, but without a trace of smoke. We can't keep one fire going, and they don't care. And what's more, he looked intensely into Piggy's streaming face. What's more, I don't sometimes. Supposing I got like the others, not caring. What would become of us? Piggy took off his glasses, deeply troubled. I don't know, Ralph. We just got to go on, that's all. That's what grown-ups would do. Ralph, having begun the business of unburdening himself, continued. Piggy, what's wrong? Piggy looked at him in astonishment. Do you mean the... No, not it. I mean, what makes things break up like they do? Piggy rubbed his glasses slowly and thought. Now you notice Piggy is always rubbing his glasses. The glasses are rubbing the glasses is the activity he does when he's thinking of something. And of course, glasses are often associated with intelligence. You wear glasses so that you can do your math homework better or whatever. You do wear glasses if you're a scientist. So Piggy is the one who is intelligent, and he has the glasses. When he understood how far Ralph had gone towards accepting him, he flushed pinkly with pride. I don't know, Ralph. I expect it's him. Jack? Jack. A taboo was evolving around that word, too. Ralph nodded solemnly. Yes, he said, I suppose it must be. The forest near them burst into uproar. Demonic figures with faces of white and red and green rushed out, howling so that the little ones fled screaming. Out of the corner of his eye, Ralph saw Piggy running. Two figures rushed at the fire, and he prepared to defend himself, but they grabbed half-burnt branches and raced away along the beach. The three others stood still, watching Ralph, and he saw that the tallest of them, stark naked, save for a paint and a belt, was Jack. Ralph had his breath back, and he spoke. Well? Jack ignored him. He lifted his spear and began to shout. Listen, all of you. Me and my hunters, we're living along the beach by a flat rock. We hunt and feast and have fun. If you want to join my tribe, come and see us. Perhaps I'll let you join. Perhaps not. He paused and looked round. He was safe from shame or self-consciousness behind the mask of his paint, and could look at each of them in turn. Ralph was kneeling by the remains of the fire like a sprinter at his mark, and his face was half hidden by hair and smut. Sam and Eric peered together around a palm tree at the edge of the forest. A little and howled, creased and crimson by the bathing pool, and Piggy stood on the platform, the white conch gripped in his hands. Tonight, we're having a feast. We've killed a pig, and we've got meat. You can come and eat with us if you like. Up in the cloud canyons, the thunder boomed again. Now you notice the weather. The weather's starting to change. The thunder is going on up in the sky, and the clouds are gathering up in the sky. And if you consider the possibility that it's seasonal, that the clouds and the rain only come during certain seasons, last time that there was rain was when they landed. And now there's going to be rain again. Maybe it's been an entire year, or at least an entire season. But the cannons and the thunder, it sounds ominous, as if not only the weather's turning bad, but the atmosphere is turning bad. Jack and the two anonymous savages with him swayed, looking up, and then recovered. The little one went on howling. Jack was waiting for something. He whispered urgently to the others, Go on, now! The two savages murmured. Jack spoke sharply. Go on! The two savages looked at each other, raised their spears together, and spoke in time. The chief has spoken. Then the three of them turned and trotted away. Presently, Ralph rose to his feet, looking at the place where the savages had vanished. Sam and Eric came talking in awed whispers. I thought it was, and I was scared. Piggy stood above them on the platform, still holding the conch. That was Jack and Maurice and Robert, said Ralph. Aren't they having fun? I thought I was going to have asthma. Sucks to your asthma. When I saw Jack, I was sure he'd go for the conch. Can't think why. The group of boys looked at the white shell with affectionate respect. Piggy placed it in Ralph's hands, and the little ones, seeing the familiar symbol, started to come back. Not here. He turned toward the platform, feeling the need for ritual. First went Ralph, the white conch cradled, then Piggy, very grave, then the twins, then the little ones, and the others. Sit down, all of you. They've raided us for fire. They're having fun, but Ralph was puzzled by the shudder that flickered in his brain. There was something he wanted to say, and then the shudder had come down. But they were regarding him gravely, not yet troubled by any doubts about his sufficiency. Ralph pushed the idiot hair out of his eyes and looked at Piggy. But the fire, of course, the fire. He started to laugh, then stopped and became fluent instead. The fire is the most important thing. Without the fire, we can't be rescued. I'd like to put on war paint and be a savage, but we must keep the fire burning. The fire is the most important thing on the island because, he paused again, and the silence became full of doubt and wonder. Piggy whispered urgently, Rescue. Oh, yes. Without the fire, we can't be rescued. So we must stay by the fire and make smoke. When he stopped, no one said anything. After the many brilliant speeches that had been made on this very spot, Ralph's remarks seemed lame, even to the little ones. At last Bill held out his hands for the conch. Now we can't have the fire up there because we can't have the fire up there. We need more people to keep it going. Let's go to this feast and tell them that the fire's hard on the rest of us, and the hunting and all that, being savages, I mean, must be jolly good fun. Sam and Eric took the conch. That must be fun, like Bill says, and as he's invited us to a feast, meat, cracklin'. I could do with some meat. Ralph held up his hand. Why shouldn't we get our own meat? The twins looked at each other. Bill answered, We don't want to go in the jungle. Ralph grimaced. He, goes. He's a hunter. They're all hunters. That's different. No one spoke for a moment, and then Piggy muttered to the sand, Meat! The little one sat solemnly thinking of meat and dribbling. Overhead, the cannon boomed again, and the dry palm fronds clattered in a sudden gust of hot wind. Okay, now we're going to go back to Simon, where the pig head is sitting on the end of a stick with the flies all over it. And Simon is overheated, and he's starting to think that the Lord of the Flies is talking to him. You are a silly little boy, said the Lord of the Flies. Just an ignorant, silly little boy. Simon moved his swollen tongue but said nothing. Don't you agree? Said the Lord of the Flies. Aren't you just a silly little boy? Simon answered him in the same silent voice. Well then, said the Lord of the Flies, you'd better run off and play with the others. They think you're batty. You don't want Ralph to think you're batty, do you? You like Ralph a lot, don't you? And Piggy and Jack? Simon's head was tilted slightly up. His eyes could not break away, and the Lord of the Flies hung in space before him. What are you doing out here all alone? Aren't you afraid of me? Simon shook. There isn't anyone to help you, only me, and I'm the beast. Simon's mouth labored, brought forth audible words. Pig's head on a stick. Fancy thinking the beast was something you could hunt and kill, said the head. For a moment or two, the forest and all the other dimly appreciated places echoed with the parody of laughter. You knew, didn't you? I'm part of you. Close, close, close. I'm the reason why it's no go, why things are what they are. The laughter shivered again. Come now, said the Lord of the Flies. Get back to the others, and we'll forget the whole thing. Simon's head wobbled. His eyes were half closed, as though he were imitating the obscene thing on the stick. He knew that one of his times was coming on. The Lord of the Flies was expanding like a balloon. This is ridiculous. You know perfectly well you'll only meet me down there, so don't try to escape. Simon's body was arched and stiff. The Lord of the Flies spoke in the voice of a schoolmaster. This has gone quite far enough, my poor misguided child. Do you think you know better than I do? There was a pause. I'm warning you. I'm going to get angry, do you see? You're not wanted, understand? We are going to have fun on this island, understand? We are going to have fun on this island, so don't try it on, my poor misguided boy. Or else. Simon found he was looking into a vast mouth. There was blackness within, a blackness that spread. Or else, said the Lord of the Flies, we shall do you. See? Jack and Roger and Maurice and Robert and Bill and Piggy and Ralph. Do you see? Simon was inside the mouth. He fell down and lost consciousness. So Simon imagined he was speaking to the beast, and the beast says he's part of them. He's inside them. The beast is inside all of us.